gotta love that Oaklnader. Wanna see that Oaklnader, Oaklnader, Oakland TV. Oaklnader, Oaklnader, Oakland TV. Piece of heaven with our new exit on 287. We can be seen on channel 20. That's our TV. Oaklnader, gotta love that Oaklnader. Wanna see that Oaklnader, Oaklnader, Oakland TV. Oaklnader, Oaklnader, Oakland TV. Oaklnader, Oaklnader, Oakland TV. Oaklnader, Oaklnader, Oakland TV. I love it. Catch our balls.
Good evening and welcome to the Oaklnader. I'm your host, Al DiGiacomo. On tonight's program, Isabel Schuss will take us to Mount Holly, New Jersey to the Children's Home. Then it's over to Cynthia Patson with a report on the water quality in Oakland and in northern New Jersey. But up first, we'll be talking with an event that has become a tradition in our area, the Flow Follies. With us tonight are two of the producers from this year's show, Nancy Wirkmaa and Brad Vincet. Thanks for being on the show, folks.
Hey,
Thanks for having us.
thanks.
Nancy, what exactly is the Flow Follies?
Well, the Flow Follies is a show that was put on by the parents of the students that go to Indian Hills and Ramapo High School. We've been doing it for 11 years. This is our 11th annual show. And this year it's being directed by Annette Sherman. And the theme is the best of Broadway. So we're going to be doing various songs and dance numbers from musicals such as The King and I, Fiddler on the Roof, Grease, West Side Story, Hello Dolly, Chicago, a whole lot of other ones too.
How long does the show last? Is it a 2-hour production or?
It's probably about 2 hours. We haven't really gotten that far into the production yet, so we'll have to find out. But it's normally about 2 hours.
Okay. Those are some of Broadway's classics. That must be quite an undertaking, isn't it?
Yes, it is. All of us are parents, and so that's a big job. A lot of us do work outside the home, which takes up a lot of time running households, but it's just so much fun that come January, we just put that on the calendar and we just really, make time for it because it's just really a lot of fun.
I understand that you've been working on this year's show for almost the whole year.
That's right. As soon as last year's show was finished, we began thinking about next year's show. Jack Doherty is the chairman of the committee this year, and he got together a lot of volunteers from last year's show, and they did pick the theme, they picked the numbers and set designs and scripts and different publicity tactics that they're going to use this year. So, it does take a lot of work and a lot of time.
With an undertaking such as this, I'm sure that there are lots of people that are involved. About how many people are involved in the Flow Follies?
Last year we had over 100 people doing singing and the dancing and building the sets and publicity, ticket sales and all kinds of things, choreography. So it takes a lot of people. And
this is all from the Flow area, Franklin
right.
Lakes, Oakland, Wyckoff, right?
That's right.
So people get to know people from adjacent towns and things like that?
That's one of the things that makes us want to do it, because we do get to meet a lot of new people.
That's great. Why do you do it? Do you have a theatrical background to speak of? Or?
Well, we do it mostly because it's a fundraiser for our kids, and I have a senior in high school, and I'm finding out how expensive it is, so every little bit helps. The fact that we do get to meet people that we never would have met. My children are involved in sports. This is something a little different. And do I have a background? Well, I always had would have liked to have been involved in theater more. My family's involved. My father was on Broadway. My brother teaches opera at Lincoln Center. But I didn't quite have the talent that they had, so this is a good place for me to do a little bit anyway. It does allow people with talents in set designs and costume designs, writing, any kind of organizational skills, which is real important, artists, dancing, singing, whatever. It gives us a chance to do something we're always watching our children do things. Now we get to do a little something too.
That's great. Great. So the best of Broadway.
It is.
Brad, how much money has the Flo Follies raised for the area children?
Well, through last year's show, the Flo Follies has raised about $135,000 in scholarship. That means we've helped out about 300 kids go to school with their tuition, books, room and board. And my daughter, having graduated from college, I know every little bit helps.
I'm sure. I am sure. And so how are the funds raised? Is it through tickets or the whole?
Well, first of all, we do the ticket sales. In January this year, the cast began selling tickets, and they will continue to do so until March. Then in March, we'll open the box office at Indian Hills High School, Monday through Fridays. And then tickets will also be available the nights of the performances. The second major part of the production is the program ad journal. It's a very important part. In January, we mailed a letter to all the businesses in Oakland, Franklin Lakes, and Wyckoff, asking them to place their ads in the journal to be part of it. Since then, the cast members and other volunteers have been helping out, and that will continue up until the production. This year, we're also trying something different. We're asking some of the larger businesses in the area to become sponsors. A sponsor means for a little bit extra money, we'll put your ad in the journal, we'll put your name of your business on the program lobby board, and for that we're going to give you tickets, and you'll even come to the cast party as one of us. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but this year our goal is to raise $15,000, which would bring the total to $150,000 through our 11th year. So I think it's a great production this year. The Broadway theme, I think it's doable.
What type of time frame does it really take to reach that type of a goal? How many tickets are usually sold for the performance in the past 11 years?
The average attendance over the last couple of years, about 2,000.
Really?
That come. Last year, unfortunately, we were snowed out, so we had to make it up on just Friday and Saturday. But this year, we're going to, since we have the cost of the sets and the scenery and all the hard work of all the cast members, we thought we're going to do it on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and for some people who could not make it, we're going to do it on a Sunday too. So with additional time frame, we think we'll have a best audience ever.
And the way this winter is panning out, you probably will have wonderfully cold weather, but no snow. Let's hope.
Well, we hope so.
Did you have any theatrical background, Brad, or how did you get involved in the Flo Follies?
Well, I got involved in the Flo Follies 4 years ago. I was in the audience, and I looked up on stage and I thought, I could do that. So a year later, when January came around, I decided I'd give it a try, and they gave me a couple spots, and as I got into the show, I found I liked it, and so I got involved in the program and everything else. So here I am this year, an amateur producer. But it's really a lot of fun. I've met a lot of people in Oakland and Franklin Lakes, Wyckoff. It's been a blast.
I understand that you have some talent in your family. Your daughter is currently employed in the entertainment business? Not really entertainment, but the...
Well, no, my daughter's going to be a very serious journalist. My daughter just graduated from college, and she's now the morning news anchor up in CBS station up in Maine. So hi, Carrie. Daddy's trying to do what you do.
I couldn't let you leave without getting the plug in for your daughter there.
Thanks, Al.
I would presume that you recommend participation.
Well, like I said before, it's a great way to meet the people of the community, and I've met some of the nicest people, and it's a lot of fun to show, and I enjoy it.
So it's a little too early to start looking forward to next year, but how would you go about inspiring some of our people who may be watching this interview now to want to be involved next year when we won't be doing a plug for the Flo Follies in, say, March after, or April or May? How would you reach out to some people that may be watching us now?
Well, if you come to the performances, you're going to see for yourself how much fun the show is. We start at back-to-school nights in September, and after that we have auditions. So if you watch the news, the Suburbanite, you'll see that, you'll see about the Flo Follies. But again, everybody's involved, no matter if you want to sing or dance or work backstage. It's a great event, and we want you to encourage you to join.
Great. Well, Nancy, let's get to the real payoff here.
Okay.
When are the performances held, and where can the people get the tickets that they'll need to see Best of Broadway?
Okay. Well, the show is being staged at Indian Hills High School in Oakland, and they are being held at 8 o'clock at night on Thursday, March 13th, Friday, March 14th, and Saturday, March 15th, all at 8 o'clock, and then again on Sunday at 2 o'clock, March 17th.
That's great. And tickets will be available?
Tickets will be available through the cast members, so if you know anybody who's in it, you can get tickets from them. Also, we're having flyers sent out to all the homes in the communities, and you can come half hour before each performance and purchase tickets at the box office.
They're not available through the drugstore or anything like that in town where they can go and
I don't think so.
buy a ticket?
We may try that.
Maybe that's a good idea.
Okay. Well, Nancy Wirkmaa and Brad Vincent, along with Paul Solorio and Jack Doherty, are the producers of the 1997 Flo Follies Best of Broadway, directed by Annette Sherman. This year it has helped 20 students, 10 from Indian Hills and 10 from Ramapo High School, each with a $500 award. So we want to wish our congratulations to all of them. And the email address is flofollies@aol.com. And stay tuned. After these words, we'll be right back with Isabel Schuss from the Children's Home in Mount Holly, New Jersey.
My friend wants to be a doctor when she grows up. Me, I'm still making up my mind. Maybe I'll be the person who changes the bulbs in the White Houses. I know. I'll run the super recycling business with this helicopter and a huge magnet. Well, whatever I do, I'm gonna make it big. I'm already on my way. I got this awesome bug collection. And I got an A in math. That's me, Cindy Marin. Successful. Whatever.
Hi, today we're in Mount Holly to talk about one of our most precious natural resources, our children. I'm here with the Executive Director of the Children's Home, Mr. William Boyles. Welcome to the Oaklnader, Bill.
Good morning.
Hi.
Thank you.
I understand that the Children's Home has a long history. Can you tell us what is the Children's Home?
Well, the Children's Home is a very fascinating organization. It was founded in 1864 by a group of Mount Holly church women. As a result of the war, there were many orphans, and they established the home at that point in time in Mount Holly. The amazing thing to me is since that time, the home has continuously served kids in need.
Wow.
And we moved to our present site, which is about 10-acre campus, in 1908. And that's where we are today.
So that's, right now, the campus is still from 1908. That's
Yes.
pretty amazing. Today, more and more children seem to need help and positive guidance. How does a child get to become part of the Children's Home, and what services do you provide them?
Well, currently the Children's Home is a residential treatment center and special education school for high-risk kids. Kids that have not had the opportunities that most children have had in growing up. Many actually have been abused and neglected as well. The kids who live with us, right now we serve boys ages 10 to 17 in residence, and we have capacity to serve up to 43, are all referred to us through the New Jersey Division of Youth and Family Services.
Okay.
It's been determined that these kids need to be in a treatment center such as this for a variety of reasons. More and more today, we find the kids are coming to us with multiple presenting problems. We also serve day students in a day treatment program in our special education school. And in that program, we can serve about 40 kids additionally.
So basically you have 40, up to 43 that could live in as residents and another 40 that you can take on a day-to-day basis.
Right, that's correct. And they all attend our special education school. And we're very excited about our school program.
Oh, that's great. Is there, you had mentioned an age requirement, is there an age requirement to get into the school? I mean, do you have, you had
Actually,
mentioned 10.
some of the students in our day treatment program can be as young as 9. And in addition to serving boys, in our day treatment program, we serve girls as well.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
So that's just in the day?
At the moment,
Right.
We're just serving boys residentially.
Is there an age limit to a resident as in terms of when they would leave? Is there a certain age that they would no longer be a resident, or?
Well, typically, we would not accept a child into the program who is above 17 years old. Our average length of service residentially to a child is about 14 months. And actually, it's been coming down a little bit of late, due to the work our social workers are primarily doing with the families to help restore the child back to the family or community. A child legally can stay under DYFS's care if they're still involved in a program such as ours, so they could stay beyond 18. Typically, our average age of admission is about 14 years old, so coupling our average length of stay on top of that, most kids are ready to leave the program well before they're 18.
It's amazing that that we have so many children in need, out there that, it's unfortunate, but really I'm so grateful that organization like you really exists for the benefit of these children.
Well, we are a unique organization. There are only a few programs like ours in New Jersey. We receive kids in our residential programs from throughout the state. And that's important to get across to people, the uniqueness of the Children's Home program.
Right, so it's not just based Mount Holly. You like you said, you get them from throughout the area of New Jersey.
Right. We're considered what's called a deep end service, meaning that the kids have been in other programs before. And it's not unusual for us to receive a child who may have been in 10 to 15 different placements prior to coming here.
Wow.
And yeah, your reaction is good because you understand, I think, the implications for a child who may be, again, 14 years old, and as we say, sort of bounced around a system. And of course, the impact on the child is they haven't had a chance to really establish relationships. They've been placed, they've been taken out of that placement, so they've started to get
Feel
attachments.
Secure, right.
Then separation occurs. And they have become, therefore, very distrustful of adults as well as the system as a whole. When the child arrives here, our emphasis is on the relationship between the caregiving adults of our staff and the child. We don't rely on what I see as sort of false systems, such as a behavior modification system where a child receives a token for everything he does. We do rewards, but they're individualized to the child.
Right.
And I think it's an important distinction because sometimes programs are created in a certain way where the child has to fit the program and the program is not capable of adapting and adjusting to the individual needs of the child and also the family of the child.
Well, that's important because they are going to be basically going back to that family.
If at all possible. And in some cases it is not possible, and we find that's a major problem for us as well. But we've also found by intensifying our work with the existent family or the family to whom the child would be returning. And it may be a relative, conceivably it could be a foster family that the child may have been with. But intensifying our efforts to work with that family is critical to the success of the child while they're here and afterwards.
Right. Right. Well, that's important. What you mentioned also with the 40 or so residents, as well as having the 40 children that come in on a daily basis, that's where you get into the co-ed area. And how does that dynamic impact? Do you think that's a positive way that they learn, you know, being with other children, male, female roles, and how that all gets them to?
Yes, but I think the other thing to emphasize is although we are a campus and perhaps perceived as an institution, we're not a lockup, and our kids do go out into the community and participate in community activities.
Right.
They go to the movies, they go to the skating rink,
Oh.
so they have opportunities to interact with members of the opposite sex in a normal kind of adolescent way, but more importantly, that's all under supervision.
Great. Well, yeah, that definitely needs supervision.
Right.
I know that, but having a 10-year-old, you know, you have to give them their limits.
But our staff capitalizes on each situation to make it a learning experience for the kid. Many of our kids, because of their histories, are not good with interpersonal relationships, and it takes a lot of reinforcing the positive that they do in those kinds of situations.
Well, that's good. We're going to have to take a break right now. We'll be back. Please stay tuned and watch our next messages. Hi, we're back with the Oaklnader, and I'm sitting with the Executive Director of the Children's Home, Bill Boyles. Bill, I know this is a non-for-profit organization. Who helps you with the funding?
Well, we have many supporters, and it's critical to the success of the Children's Home that we have support from a wide range of the public. We do receive funding from the Division of Youth and Family Services for our residential treatment program. It's a reimbursement contract where we get paid for every day of service we provide. So if our census happens to be low for a period of time, that's a struggle for us. It's very difficult to make up money. Once the day of service has not been provided, we can't make that up. In our school program, the student's tuition is paid by the sending school district, wherever the child's responsible school district is. But there's a gap between what the state provides in funding and what is needed to run a quality program, and I want to emphasize that. Basically, the state funding would be adequate for a marginal or minimal standard program, and what we do here is well above that. We have much higher staff qualifications required than the state standards specify. We also have much better staffing ratios than the state's manual of standards would require. For example, in a classroom, we have a maximum of 8 children with a teacher, and in most classrooms an aide as well.
That's great.
These kids need that kind of attention. They come to us typically anywhere from 1.5 years to 3 years behind academically.
Wow.
So they need a lot of remediation. As you'll see as we go through our new school building, which just opened last year, we undertook this project about 3.5 years ago when our Board of Trustees said, look, we need to advance the children's home. We need to provide better facilities for our children. At the time, most of our classes were being operated out of the school building on the grounds that was built in 1930.
Wow.
And while we maintain all our buildings well, it was a 1930 classroom building. So we're very proud of our new facility, which includes this beautiful library.
This is absolutely beautiful here.
And it's made such a difference already in terms of the attitudes of the kids toward learning, and they're really energized about it. They're getting excited. Right next to this, or off of this, we have our computer lab, which is state-of-the-art technology. And we have 8 computer stations, and we have that staffed by a experienced computer instructor and an experienced computer instructor aide. We have a scanner, a laser printer, a color printer. We decided at this point it was critical that we invest in the technology. So these children, when they leave here, they've had as much exposure as we can give them to the technology that they're going to face in continuing their education, as well as going out into the world to work.
Right.
And in this building we also have 9 wonderful classrooms, and in each classroom we have a TV monitor, which is teacher controlled, but here off the computer lab we have a multimedia retrieval system, whereby the learning videotapes or cable TV from educational channels can be piped in to the classrooms, and the teacher controls it in the classroom.
That's great. That's a great
Right.
function to have for these children.
Right. And we utilize the county library as a resource to provide those educational tapes and so on.
I had asked you before we actually got on air about the facilities, and you said that there were other buildings that you used to that housed the different classrooms before this wonderful building was built. And how many exactly were there out?
Well, we have currently we have classes in not only this building but also in our gymnasium building. There's one classroom which is a self-contained classroom for the youngest group of children here. We find that they're at an age 9 or 10 years old where they're best served by staying with the same teacher and teaching assistant all day long. We also, interestingly, 2 years ago opened a classroom in the back of our thrift shop. We did a total renovation of a room there. Our thrift shop is about a mile away from the campus here. And the thrift shop is a thriving retail enterprise. We have an employee who's the manager, and we sell only donated items. But the World of Work curriculum, where a class of kids will go there for 6 weeks, they get exposure to how to understand what kind of jobs they may be interested in, and then how to hunt for jobs, how to fill out applications, how to interview, how to be a good employee.
That's great.
Especially in retail, of course, understanding customer service. Part of that program is they actually go out and visit a wide variety of businesses in the area. So they start to get an understanding of businesses other than retail. But they also have an opportunity to work in the thrift shop as an employee.
Oh, that's great. That's really great. Knowing that it takes us, you were mentioning your staff, knowing that it takes a special type of person to be able to communicate to these children that not all adults are bad and not everybody out there is out to get them. And what kind of requirements are needed for you to hire a staff member, and what do you basically look for in hiring someone to
That's
be
a
with your
great question
children?
because first of all, we have staff from many different disciplines. For example, in the school, all our teachers are special ed certified. Most of our teaching assistants have bachelor's degrees. We've started to require that. We have our own child study team here. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's the team that really looks at the individual child, establishes a learning plan for the child, and includes a school psychologist, ours has a PhD, a learning disability specialist, as well as the child's social worker. Now, we require that all our social workers have MSWs. And in fact, all ours are licensed, certified social workers.
Great.
And again, that goes beyond the state requirements, which would be a bachelor's degree. But we found, given the presenting problems of the child and the families, we need a higher level of expertise in our staff. In our cottages, we have 5 cottages, by the way. 3 on the main campus house 10 kids each. And then we have 2 5-bed cottages, one on the edge of our campus, but the other one we bought 2 years ago down the street in the community. And the 2 5-bed cottages are geared to help the kids really assume greater responsibilities and learn more about what it takes to live in a household. They do the meal preparation and the shopping and so on, all with staff supervision.
Wow.
Okay, but they're learning all along the way. We require bachelor's degrees of all the cottage staff, as well as experience. But more importantly is an empathy and a dedication to kids. Particularly in the cottages, and you'll have an opportunity to visit one of our cottages, Dobbin's Cottage, in a little while. We're gearing up more and more so that during a child's entire day, we're focusing on learning experiences. And when you get into the cottage, you'll get a chance to see our newly created learning center in each cottage, where we've basically knocked down walls, created a beautiful room for these kids to have with a computer. Hopefully we'll be adding computers as we go. So outside of school time, they can work on the computer. They can do activities, learning activities. They'll have a mini library in the learning center. And they can also play games in there and be outside of the living room where there's a TV and other stuff.
The norms of the of the day.
Right.
That's really great that they learn academics as well as the social aspects of being just a well-rounded person and being able to deal with, you know, the outside world and what they'll be dealing with.
And it's interesting because the staff here is just fantastic. One of the things that's really of critical importance for these kids is consistency.
Definitely.
They really haven't had that in their lives. Our staff is very consistent. Our daytime staff talks to our evening staff and so on, which is a very difficult thing to achieve consistency over 7 days a week, 24 hours, when the kids have many different adults they're interacting with. So we put a great emphasis on people talking to each other, people doing things under the same framework, so the kid is not getting told one thing by one person, another thing by another person. No. That can be very confusing.
Yes.
So we focus on individual treatment plans. Staff is aware of what is being focused on and the best approaches in dealing with a particular kid.
Great, that's great. I know that you, of course, since people do graduate from here and go on into the world, do you have former residents come back and talk to your current residents to say, hey, you know, this really works? I mean,
yeah, we do. Typically, kids come back to see staff. As I said early on, our focus is on the relationship between staff and kids. And it's really neat to see a kid come back and being proud to say to a staff, look, you know, I graduated from high school and now I'm in college, or I'm working, or I'm going to vocational school. I'm on the wrestling team or the basketball team. My academics are strong, and I wanted to come back, let you know, and say thanks, kind of thing. So
it's important
it's exciting
that they
to
see that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, in closing, I'd just like you to tell us, you know, how can people help the mission of the children's home? How can we help you?
Well, I appreciate the question, because obviously the gap between what we receive from the state and what we need in support of our program, dollars. We need dollars. We're a charitable organization, not for profit. Everything that is donated to us is tax deductible.
Right.
We're well managed. We're conservative in the way we handle our money. We're fully open in terms of letting people know this is where your money went. Right now, we're faced with a great challenge grant from Advanta Foundation, which is a a big challenge to us because we have to raise $150,000
Wow.
in order for us to receive from them
Right.
that amount. So for every dollar right now that people would donate to our school building fund, it will be matched by Advanta Foundation. So if people would like to help us out and help the kids out here, we'd appreciate contributions dedicated to the school building fund sent to the Children's Home at 243 Pine Street, Mount Holly, New Jersey. Zip code is 08060. And the phone number, if you'd like to call for additional information,
Yeah.
we'd be happy to send out whatever you would like. And the phone number is area 609-267-1550.
Great, that's really great. I want to thank you for having us in this wonderful building and letting our audience find out about who you are and how we can help you.
Well, I appreciate your interest in the
great.
children of New Jersey.
I want to also thank Eleanor Miller. She helped coordinate all of this, and without her, this wouldn't have been able to go as smoothly, I think, as it has. Also, in closing, what I'd like to say is I want you to stop and really think about what you heard today. Because basically, whether you're a single person, a couple without a child, or even a parent with or without a spouse, we have to understand that it's our job as citizens of this world to nurture the children. That's if we do anything, that's what we must do. And we have to teach them that they are our leaders in the future. We have to empower them with the ideas that they can, if given the right opportunities, to move this world forward and make it better. And so what we can do is just help them do that. So that's your job. This is Isabel Schuss for the Oaklnader.
That any child should die before his or her time is, to me, simply unacceptable. Those are the words of my late friend, Danny Thomas, who acted on those words by founding St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in 1962. Danny lived to see cancer become a survivable disease for children, but cancer is still tough to beat. Until new cures are found, we will continue to lose many of those precious children. Danny may be gone, but the research at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee goes on.
Hi, I'm Rick Turner, and you're watching The Oaklnader on TCI, Channel 20.
So lots of times I don't get a chance.
So Dad's going to do a full report on the show. Don't get too close, please.
Several months ago at a function here in Oakland, a new resident asked us if we thought the water was safe to drink. Her family has had several health problems since moving to Oakland, and she was obviously concerned. Another resident immediately spoke up and said, "Don't drink the water, you should buy bottled water." Well, I have to admit that I have lived in Oakland for many years, and it wasn't until I found out about the contamination of well number 5 that I started to use bottled water. So with these concerns from a new homeowner in our town, we decided to see if the water is safe to drink. Where do we start? Oakland's drinking water is supplied by a number of municipal wells located around town that are tested on an annual basis, and these reports are filed with the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. Well number 5 was contaminated back in 1991, and Oakland is required to submit testing results for this well every 3 months. These reports give a detailed breakdown of the chemicals in the water. Every town must submit drinking water tests, and if you live in Wyckoff, or Ringwood, or Pompton Lakes, you should check with your water department for past violations. This information is meant to inform the public, and we are only interested in protecting and improving our water system. I want to be able to tell people that our water is clean and safe to drink. With us now is a report from the Oakland Water Department with Greg Schuss. Greg, are you there?
Of course I'm here, Cindy. I'm here at Public Works Building in Oakland, and we've been trying for the last 3 or 4 weeks now to get a response from the Oakland Water Department on the situation with Oakland Water. We've had 7 or 8 phone calls with Charles Smiley and Jerry Leary here in Oakland, trying to set up a time to do a small interview and get some questions answered. The Oaklnader also faxed about 8 or 9 questions over concerning the water quality and what the plans were for the future for the Oakland Water. And unfortunately, they have not been able to get back to us. So at this point, there is no response from Oakland Borough, and we really don't have any answers. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. This is Greg Schuss for the Oaklnader. Back to the studio.
Thanks, Greg, for that report. Did you know that tetrachloroethylene, the chemical that closed well number 5, and is still in our drinking water, is a probable human carcinogen? That means it causes cancer. This chemical is commonly used in metal cleaning or dry cleaning and is a common contaminant in our water. Are you listening, Wyckoff? Did you know the Ridgewood Water Department, which supplies water to Wyckoff, has had violations for tetrachloroethylene for the past 4 years? Ridgewood Water also has air strippers on their wells, trying to alleviate the contamination. In 1993, Camp Glen Gray on the Oakland-Mahwah border was cited for drinking water violations for high levels of lead and coliform bacteria contamination. How did we find out about these violations? Well, most of the research done for this topic was done right on the internet. That's right. This information is available to anyone right on the World Wide Web. See, folks, this problem isn't just Oakland, it's all around us. You may say to yourself, how could this happen? Well, most of you would be surprised to learn that many factories and industrial facilities across the state legally dump tons of toxic chemicals into our rivers, streams, and lakes. They dumped over 13.5 million pounds of toxic substances directly into New Jersey's waters between 1990 and 1994, according to a federal report. 215 million pounds of toxic materials were flushed to sewage treatment plants during the same time period, and the EPA estimates that 25% flow through the treatment plant untreated. That raises the total amount of toxics dumped into the state's waters to 67.5 million pounds. These figures underestimate the toxic release into the environment because the federal report only shows 340 of the 73,000 chemicals used in commerce. Again, let me reemphasize, this information is to make you more aware. We believe that many of our local water systems are just trying to hold back the tide. They're trying to supply you with the best water possible. The problem is the water is tainted from years of toxic dumping. Let's bring it back to a local level. Again, right here in our backyard, DuPont in Pompton Lakes legally dumped 1,100 pounds of copper and lead compounds into the water from 1990 to 1994. I remember seeing a postcard from many years ago that said, "Come to the crystal clear waters of the Ramapo." Well, I'm afraid the Ramapo River is now considered unsafe for swimming or fishing. Even though the quality of the river water has somewhat improved recently, it is still on the list of impaired waterways for violations of arsenic, lead, mercury, and fecal coliform, a product of raw sewage. What can we expect in the future? Well, for more than 25 years, New Jersey has had some of the toughest environmental laws, and our rivers and waterways have slowly been improving. Remember, this is the state that has the most Superfund cleanup sites in the nation and thousands of acres of leaking landfills. Do you know a chemical company right here in Oakland was the site of a Superfund cleanup? That's right. From 1966 to 1984, Whitco Chemical neutralized laboratory wastewater and discharged it to a series of underground seepage pits. This was an unpermitted discharge, and the state ordered an investigation. In 1985, the EPA evaluated the contamination and detected such chemicals as DDT. The Ramapo landfill and Ringwood mines are also on the list of toxic cleanup sites. Now Governor Whitman is proposing a plan to allow more toxic chemicals into the rivers and lakes, to reduce fines for polluters, and for the sake of economic vitality. She supports legislation that would repeal most of the New Jersey Clean Water Enforcement Act. Because of massive cuts in funding and staffing, the DEP has reduced routine inspections, cleanup efforts, and emergency response. We now take you to the New Jersey Public Interest Research Group in Trenton for an update on the proposed rollbacks of the environmental protection of the state's water supply.
Hi, my name is Liz Stellert. I am the Clean Water Organizer here at New Jersey PIRG Citizen Lobby, and I just wanted to give everyone an update on what is happening with the clean water regulations that Governor Whitman had proposed this summer and where we're going from here. Right now, the governor has agreed to repeal the clean water regulations that she had proposed this summer, and instead of going through with these bad regulations, instead she's going to be holding a series of roundtable discussions with members from the business community, from industry, from the public citizens, as well as clean water advocates or environmental advocates, holding a roundtable discussion so that all together we can come up with a good plan for New Jersey. What we are hoping will come out of this plan is a comprehensive watershed plan, which would look not only at individual discharges, but at the whole watershed area as a whole. So instead of looking at so-and-so who's dumping into the Ramapo River, we'd look at the whole Ramapo River watershed to make sure that that is being kept clean. We're hoping that Governor Whitman will continue along these lines after she has very confidently and very courageously bucked her own administration over at the DEP and continue to not only get tough on industrial polluters, but create a comprehensive watershed plan that would then move us into the next millennium with better water here in New Jersey. That's the quick update on what has happened with the clean water regulations. We are finally moving in a positive way, and with the help of great activists like Madeline Hoffman here in the Oakland area, we have made great strides in terms of improving the water quality here in New Jersey, and so we'll continue to do that. Thanks for staying tuned, and keep tuned to the Oaklander.
What can you do? How can you protect your drinking water for you and your children? Support your local environmental groups, such as Vocal, the Sierra Club, the New Jersey Public Interest Research Group, and write or call the governor. Contact your state representatives in the Senate and the Assembly. You can contact the governor by writing to Governor Whitman, State House CN 330, Trenton, New Jersey 08625, or by calling 609-777-2500. Our staff has contacted the Citizens Environmental Laboratory, and we are running our own tests on Oakland water. When we have those results, we will be happy to share them with you. Our thanks to Carolyn Carrigan Vocal for all their help. Keep up the good work, Carolyn. Thanks to the New Jersey Public Interest Research Group for the information on Clean Water Now. And thank you for allowing us to spend this time with you. I'm Cynthia Patson for the Oaklander.
What here?
almost out of time, but before we leave, I'd like to mention that on Monday, March 3rd, down at the municipal building, they'll be having a hearing pertaining to the construction projects downtown. I'd urge anyone who is interested to attend this meeting, and the Oaklnader is going to be down there to tape this meeting for those who can't meet it. I'd also urge you all to visit our new website at www.oaklandnj.com, or you can call us at 405-1084. I'd like to thank tonight's guests for being on our show, to Cynthia Patson for her help this month, and to my wife Elizabeth for her fine video, and to the OK TV staff, and to Ellen Adler of TCI. Happy birthday, Mom. I'm your host, Al DiGiacomo, and we'll see you next time.